This is what black shading's like. Easy. What's up everybody, Anthony Saratelli here of Jersey Filmmaker, and welcome back to another Road to Red episode, which have been few and far between lately, but that's neither here nor there because today we're talking about black shading and calibrating a red camera. There's a lot of scientific language to explain why you should or need to black shade, but let's break it down into its most simplest form. If you don't black shade, you'll have more noise in your blacks. What black shading essentially does is it scans all the pixels and measures for what is called fixed noise. It locates this pattern of pixels and its fixed noise and stores it in memory called a calibration map. The camera then calls on that calibration map and subtracts it from every frame you shoot, reducing the noise in those pixels and giving you a much cleaner image. You should black shade when the ambient temperature changes by 30 degrees Fahrenheit or more, which is about 15 degrees Celsius, or your exposure time, i.e. your shutter speed, changes by more than half a second. So for example, if you're shooting indoors at 70 degrees Fahrenheit at a shutter speed of 1/48th, you should have a calibration for that particular setting. And then if you were gonna change to shoot slow motion, let's say at 1/240th shutter speed, you should have a separate calibration. But then if you were to take that same calibration of the 1/240th shutter outside to, let's say, 35 degree temperature, you would want another calibration or you'd have to recalibrate. So you can do individual calibrations specific to the temperature and exposure, which take about 5 to 10 minutes each if you need to do something quickly. Or you can do an auto calibration, which takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and will go through every exposure speed at the temperature the camera is currently set at. You'll want to and actually have to get the camera to the temperature you'll be shooting at to calibrate. And the same goes for shooting with this camera in general. You never want to just power it on and shoot right away. Let it get to the appropriate temperature first. When you need to get the camera to a certain temperature for calibration, you can adjust the fan control to help you do so, or sometimes you might actually have to physically go to the conditions you'll be shooting in, which could be a hot-ass Arizona desert or a cold-ass Alaskan mountain. Have fun with that. Otherwise, the fans are very helpful in getting the camera to the temperature needed for your black shade calibration. So let's dive into the menus now so I can show you how to physically enable and perform a black shade. So once you power your camera on, we'll go to Menu, Settings, Maintenance, Calibrate, Sensor. This brings us to your black shade page, which you'll see has all of my settings here, which I only have a few I've just toyed around with just to show you. But how to do a new calibration is you go to Create, then you have your options of Auto or Manual. We're gonna go through Manual just so I can show you what to do. In here, you'll be able to select the number of captures. If you select more than one, for example, if we did 3, it'll automatically do 3 different exposures for you, but we're gonna go back to 1, leave it at that for now. And then you can pick your exposure, whatever it is you might like, or what it's currently set to, which I'm gonna leave here since it's currently at 1/48th, which I like, which is also the default, but we'll go to current. And then you'll hit Start Capture. I'm not gonna hit start because it's gonna run through something we don't need to see, but what you'll wanna do is actually make sure all the light is being blocked by locking the lens cap into place. I recommend performing this without a lens on and just using the lens cap. You can also drop like a dark cloth or a duvetine over the camera if you wanna be super duper safe to make sure no light's getting in. But back to the camera, what we'll do is go back over here and go to Create again, and you can hit Auto instead of Manual. And what it's gonna do, this will tell you to make sure your lens cap is on. It also says it's gonna take about an hour, which I also mentioned, and you are about to begin calibrating your camera. If you hit OK, it'll calculate a calibration for every exposure setting at 35 degrees Celsius. So you can go through here and create as many as you like for any certain circumstances that you might be in. One more thing I'd like to show you, which is just on the main menu, and you'll see here, there are 2 temperature readings, and there's a CAL, which obviously means calibration, reading as well with a T and a E. The T and E stand for temperature and exposure. If they're both green, you're good to go. If they're yellow, there's been a slight change in either temperature or exposure. Or if they're red, you should probably stop immediately and make an adjustment by selecting a different calibration map or recalibrating altogether. And these 2 temperature settings that you see above the calibration indicators are the camera's sensor temperature on the left and the camera's core temperature on the right. One last thing I want to mention if we go back into the calibration settings is the way that these files are named. What you'll see first is your exposure, so that's 240 or 1/240th. The 48 would be 1/48th. The temperature, obviously right next to it, and then the date 2018 0726, which is when I recorded this, and you'll see if we go down to one of the other ones, the auto was done on 6/14 2018. So that's just so you know what you're looking at as far as naming these files. What's great about storing the calibration maps is the 30-degree leeway that we mentioned earlier. You could probably do 3 auto calibrations and be set for almost any condition, unless really extreme like out in the desert or in a snowstorm, also like we mentioned earlier. But if you do 3 auto calibrations at anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees Celsius apart, you'll probably be good for most shooting conditions. Unless you do some crazy style of shooting, but for those special circumstances, you can go in and create just a very specific calibration for that situation. So that's all I got for today. I hope that clarifies or simplifies any black shading questions you might have, and now you'll know how to do it. If you like this video, help me out and click that like button, subscribe and hit that little bell if you haven't already so you get alerts to all future episodes. If you have any comments or questions, you know you can leave them below or hit me up on any of my social medias, Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, at Jersey Filmmaker. Thanks so much for watching. Be on the lookout for next episode, but until then, remember to get out there, don't wait, go create, and I'll see you next time.